Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with Trader Summit, and we have Mr. Richard Matthews from 1.io with us today. Richard, how are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. Much better than last week. I've actually got a voice this week, which always helps.
Sounds like you're feeling a lot better, and
Yeah,
I have to say, you tipped off Bitcoin last time we
yeah.
spoke, and next thing you know, it rips up 20%. Can you do that with some currencies for us?
Well, let me get a hold of BlackRock and see what they're doing.
All right. Well, Bitcoin has gone kind of come out of its shoes, and we've seen this massive rally over the last
Yeah,
week. It's interesting because a lot of people are looking at it, wondering why it moved, but I just to tell them that Richard Matthews said so.
I had a reason for saying that actually, because I think that, and I am working in a crypto company now, so I'm obviously closer to it than I have been before. But I think what's interesting that the world is so politicized at the moment and so split politically. And I just think that the natural reaction, you see problems, you buy the dollar. It's just like a safe haven. But I think people are starting to turn away from that, and they're looking at Bitcoin as an alternative to gold because it's easier to trade. And I think it's got an attraction which maybe the dollar is losing. There's a lot of people out there, and I love America, as you know, but there's a lot of people out there who don't. And I just think that might be one of the reasons driving it. And also, obviously, what's going on fundamentally with BlackRock and ETFs and whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Let's shift gears and let's talk a little bit about the bond market. So we've had a situation where the 10-year yields, they look like they peaked earlier this week, late last week, and all of a sudden, you got this little bit of a pullback. Everybody thinks that the bottom's in the bond market and yields are going to start to pull back as bonds rally. And here's the U.S. 10-year. How do you feel about the bond market right now?
I think it's really extraordinary when you get a hedge fund or a couple of hedge funds coming out and saying, we've done this. To me, they actually want you to follow them, so they take the opposite position. I would sell into any rally. I think that there's still so many reasons to be short. The only reason to buy it is the short cover. But if you look at what's going on in your home country with you can't elect a speaker, it's not exactly a great look. You've got a huge deficit. There's going to be more issuance coming out. I just can't see yields backing down from where they are. And I've been saying for some time, I can see 6%. I actually think you'll see higher than 6%. And I'm not alone in this. I know the very rich man, Jamie Dimons, said 7%. But I could see yields getting somewhat higher. I think inflation isn't under control. The US economy, is just amazing to us over here. But I certainly think there's signs of inflation coming back in. I think oil looks very volatile. And of course, it's just, I can't see a reason to buy it. I'm really, really passionate about it. And I think that people are just wanting to see lower rates and they're just obsessed with it. I don't see how they see it.
So let me ask you this. I mean, we got some pieces of data that are coming out over the next couple of days here in the U.S. We've got, advanced GDP numbers. We got durable goods tomorrow. We got PCE. Are you expecting all this data to continue to be really, really showing that the U.S. economy is extremely healthy?
Yeah, I am actually. I think the GDP number will be good. PCE is a hard one to call, isn't it? I guess, but I think that there are signs of inflation coming back into the world, and the US economy just defies logic. I mean, how do you guys do it? Employment's good, all looks good.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting. We even heard from some of the credit card companies this week. We're going to hear from MasterCard, I believe, tomorrow, and Visa just said that the consumer is still credit worthiness in good shape, and I'm like, really? That's interesting in this inflationary environment that's happening. So
it's really, really strange, but I mean, it's a problem that Yeah, Europe certainly hasn't got, and the UK certainly hasn't got. I mean, you've just got an amazing economy that keeps driving forward. Europe looks a basket case, as does the economy over here. I can't see the ECB doing anything tomorrow terribly exciting. I think they're going to suffer from stagflation.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the euro, because we do have the ECB that is tomorrow. So how are you seeing this euro? Because it's trading really heavy. I mean, you can see here that I would argue that we're near some support right here, which just from a technical analysis point of view, I'll just draw it out for you guys. I mean, this is what we technicians would call a bear flag pattern. Whether it looks like that or whether it looks like that, it has a couple of different downside targets that could be pretty aggressive if playing out. You start looking at levels that could be tested.
Boy.
Yeah, you got 102, 98 cents. I mean, if things really get going. But what do you think is going to happen with the ECB tomorrow? Do you think Christine Lagarde's going to put on a darker tan?
I was discussing that earlier. Whether she'll come out, what color she'll come out with. There'd be light ochre, dark ochre. That could be the most exciting thing of the whole conference tomorrow. I guess they may play around with PEPP a little bit, but looking at the numbers coming out of there, that they're not good. And again, on the other hand, and I know I keep harping on, I'm bloody boring about it. Winter's coming. It's daylight savings changes this weekend, which heralds winter. I think oil looks incredibly vulnerable on the upside. I still don't see much written about the blowing up of this gas pipeline between Estonia and Finland. And I think there's some other little things going on in the background, which I just really don't like in Europe. I think the telecommunications cable got attacked. I think they could really suffer from stagflation coming into the winter. And to me, as we said earlier, it's really a dollar play, but I think the euro is really vulnerable.
Well, okay, so you talk about stagflation, and I know you live in the UK. What are your feelings about the sterling? You had some pretty sharp words for it the last time we talked. So how are you seeing this?
Yeah, it's interesting actually looking at the chart, which I haven't seen. What's that? A 250 day moving
averages? Yeah, it's a 200 DMA and a 50 DMA, and the way we're kind of looking at it is we're breaking a triangle, which is a resumption of trend, because the predominant trend that you see here is down. So that means it's the resumption of trend if we break. But I mean, aren't you guys dealing with a bit of the same issue? You got higher inflation, slowing growth, a little bit of stagflation going on, right?
Yeah. And looking at that chart, it's hard not to. Actually, it's very similar to the euro chart, isn't it? In some ways, it's hard not to see sterling knocking on the door of 120 and looking at that, whoa, way below that. We got problems with inflation still over here. Wages are high. I talked about last week the political situation over here. We're heading into an election year next year, and letters are going into what's the 1922 committee, which is the power behind the Conservative Party, seriously thinking about electing a new leader. Now, the rights and wrongs of that, you just laugh, because we go through leaders like no one's business compared to the States. And we haven't had a friendly defenestration for a year, actually, exactly. But be that as it may, when you look at the Conservative Party, there's not another leader in there, and they're actually probably not a great leader in the whole of the House of Commons. So if they are foolish enough to try and go to get another leader, it's just unsettling, and that can't be good for sterling. I mean, it's just such a poor sign to send out from this country.
Well, I'm trying to, it's like I think about like the days of Tony Blair as prime minister, and then following Tony Blair, it's like it's all a blur. I mean, I can't.
That's a very good Brit pop. You're getting me back for the Rolling Stones line there, aren't you? With a bit of Blur and Blair.
So it is a bit of a blur, right? Because you're like,
Yeah.
I don't even know, aside from the guy with the crazy light hair,
Boris.
but
Boris.
I know, but Bojo. But aside from him, I mean, no one really else stands out to me, and so I can't remember anybody else. So anyway, as an American, and I know that's probably bad to say, but it's true. Your leadership challenges there in the UK are they match some of our leadership challenges here in the United States, for crying out loud.
Yeah, but look at our frequency of them.
Yeah, that's the truth. It's the frequency that they flip. From us, we just can't get anybody under the age of 60, which would be nice. I would say, but just
you can't even get a speaker, can you?
I'm sorry.
You can't even get a speaker yet.
We can't even speak. Yeah, and now, okay, that's another thing. And I don't, again, this is not a political show. We have to take a step back and kind of laugh at everything, but it does affect us in the markets. We are, facing a speaker challenge here in the U.S. Does that threaten your views on bonds? I mean, does that make it where somebody starts coming in and buying bonds because of they're worried, or does it, is it maybe it just adds to the supply out there because maybe the U.S. won't pay its bills on time?
Heaven forbid the US doesn't pay its bills. I just can't foresee that ever happening. I guess there's a chance of a government shutdown, is there?
Yeah, I'm sure there is, at least a partial shutdown. Of course, until it puts some fire underneath somebody's feet.
Yeah.
But
so how would I, as an overseas investor, want to invest into a country where the government's shut down?
Yeah.
I guess that's the argument for shorting bonds. I'm just putting that out there. I'm being, stupid and cynical about it. But actually, if you think about it as an overseas investor, so there is probably a real chance of it happening this time. I think it's really sad seeing, I think there's 3 attempts to have a speaker. I can't remember how many guys have had a go at it. I think that's really,
about as many
really
attempts
sad.
as you've had as changing leaders over there.
Yeah.
Prime Minister.
Yeah. But we've changed them.
Good point. Point well taken.
But I think that's a worry. It's a funny thing to say that you see a government shutdown and you should sell bonds, because actually you're only going to end up with more issues. So I suppose you sell bonds on that. I can't think of a reason to buy them. That's it.
Well, there you go. Maybe that's just another reason to be on the sell side of the bond market, and and to keep yields perky at that, and which in essence would feed into potentially some dollar strength. So I don't know. It's a crazy world we live in, Richard. But thanks for guiding us through it. I know you do a lot of writing, so tell us how we can follow your work more closely.
You can follow me on at Dickie Matthews on Twitter and at one.io on LinkedIn, and just drop me a note or give me a thumbs up on this recording. Anything, just ask me a question, and I'll get back to you.
Great. If you can drop another 20% hint, like the Bitcoin one that we got last week or week and a half ago, that'd be awesome too. Appreciate it.
Buy lumber.
Oh God, hint. Here we go. All right. So folks, if you enjoyed our time with Mr. Richard Matthews, make sure you give him a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel down below so you don't miss any of this content. So Richard, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll talk to you next week.
Have a good evening. Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye.
Hey traders, Blake Morrow here. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also click the bell notifications so you do not miss any of our market-related trading analysis from some of the leading industry experts. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you in the next video.